Tonight we will go deep into the realm of the unknown and question everything as we search for the truth. We will explore the possibility of countless phenomena within the ultra spectrum, and together we will learn that it is all connected. This podcast is brought to you by the Experiencer Support Association, and it is a live stream broadcast. If you have a question, send me a super chat or become a YouTube member. This podcast is brought to you by the Experiencer Support Association. Take a seat, relax, get ready, and welcome to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat. Today is Thursday, March 17th, 2022, and I, Ryan Stacey, am your host this evening. I'm a licensed private investigator, a citizen journalist, and the director of investigations for the Experiencer Support Association. I am the former national chief investigator for MUFON Canada and the former international field investigator trainer for MUFON in general. Welcome to the channel, and thank you for joining us this evening. To super chat, remember to click the $ next to your name in the comment box. And if you're in the observation deck, we are inside the Experiencer Hall. Go on and put your name in the comments. Go on and put your comments and questions in the chat box. Tonight's theme is psychic abilities, premonitions, and psychic readings. Our guest for season 4, episode 9, is Psychic Lady Nina. Psychic Lady Nina is a medium and clairvoyant reader and spiritual advisor. Psychic Nina has been in the practice for over 25 years and is mostly known to be a movie and TV psychic, or simply appearing from her psychic shop, which has been in operation for over 20 years. Psychic Nina has started her career as a reader in her family shop and appearing in psychic expos. Her career took off with making appearances on Global News, CTV National News, Toronto Life Network, the Space Channel, OMNI, OMNI News, Toronto Life Magazine, Toronto Fashion, and eventually landed her star role in the family documentary titled Shape of My Heart Gypsy Love Story. As Psychic Nina continued to manage her own personal psychic shop in central Toronto, Ontario, Canada, she has continued to broadcast her psychic predictions live with various Canadian and international news outlets and making yearly appearances on both CTV's national and local news. Psychic Nina does, in fact, demonstrate and provide lectures for thousands, teaching the public about the mystic arts. She provides personal medium, clairvoyant divination through tarot cards, palmistry, crystal ball, and teacup readings. Her psychic services also include doing live readings at events such as festivals, corporate events, private groups, readings, and other psychic events. So, Nina, Psychic Nina, put on your tinfoil hat. We're about to go down a rabbit hole. How are you doing this evening?
Good evening.
Good evening. How you doing? Can you hear me?
I'm doing yes, I can hear you well.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, no, I can hear you too. There's just a bit of a delay. I just wasn't sure if you could hear me.
Okay. How are you? Yes, I'm good.
I'm great. Thank you for joining us.
There's a bit of an echo.
Are you wearing headphones by chance?
Yes.
Yeah, there shouldn't be an echo. I don't know why that's happening. Sorry about that.
Like a repeat.
Are your audio speakers on at the moment? Is the audio coming out of your computer at the moment?
I'm not.
Because everything was fine in the sound check. I don't understand why that's happening right now. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I don't. Hold on. I don't even know can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can't hear anything from the computer. Call Michael. Shh.
That's okay. No worries about that. If you, we'll get that fixed, and then we'll go from there. You can hear me now, though. There's a bit of a delay, right?
Yeah, it's like a.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So let's just start with. Why don't you tell everybody how you got this way? So why, the first question that I always like to ask is why. Well, there's an icebreaker. So this icebreaker is brought to us by Cece, And that question is, if you were to assign an emotion to the color orange, which emotion would you choose and why?
I'm still getting a double hearing for some reason. I don't know what's going on. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
It just, I don't know.
Okay, if I just asked you, if you were just to explain everything that lead up to, tell me about yourself. Just start talking, and then that's okay. If there's a bit of an echo, then I'm here to listen, right?
Yeah, basically what I do is right. Yes, I am a medium and as well as a clairvoyant. And I do as well different types of readings, different types of healing. I do palmistry, tarot cards. I do clairvoyant readings. I do medium. And I also demonstrate, spirituality, not just the art of mystics, but I demonstrate spirituality as well, too, for quite some time.
I can hear you quite fine. I can hear you well.
Yeah, it's my earphones.
Okay.
Okay, I'm happy that you can hear me well.
Yeah, I can hear you. Cece, do you want me to bring you in? I see you waving. Yeah, okay. Hold on 1 second here. You have to unmute yourself. I can't unmute you. Sorry.
It's all good. Yeah, I just thought I can hop in for a bit, and Nina, you can see if Michael can help you, and then we can bring you back in if you'd like.
Yeah, because it's not going clear. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, no worries. Just wave to us. Just wave to us when you're ready.
Bring Michael.
Sorry about that.
No, I think it's probably, it looks like Bluetooth headphones, so it's probably a feedback thing, or maybe
Nina, I can see you. If you are ready, we can bring you back in at any time. Just put your hand up.
Yeah, let us know when it sounds good and give us a thumbs up, like when you've got your headset resolved.
She's talking. We'll bring you in so we can hear you. Sorry.
Yeah, we can't hear you if you're in backstage.
It's like an echo.
Yeah, it's okay. We'll bring you back in. Let that get figured out. It's gonna be noisy, but I understand how that can be. So, yeah, the icebreaker though. What would you assign for the color orange for an emotion?
I don't know. Orange to me would be kind of like a neutral, but like kind of on the cusp of like, I don't know, expanding or growing or I don't know. Like it's not like red that's like super emotional or aggressive, but orange is kind of like on the like, I don't know. Orange is a good color. I like orange.
Yeah,
what about you?
I don't know. I was thinking about it, just pondering it, and I think it'd be more like like a jovial type energy, maybe. Okay. Like, yeah, not so sunny, but not so. It's kind of an in-between state, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe.
Mm-hmm. I see you waving there. Is it fixed there? Can you hear us? Okay?
It's all good. My son saved the day.
All right, here we are.
If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have been able to do this.
Thank you, Cece. All right, so let's start with the icebreaker again. So if you were to assign an emotion to the color orange, what emotion would you choose and why?
I would choose with the color of orange, what we believe in the ancient art of, believe it or not, Indian myth, is that orange brings in journey. Orange brings in new beginning. Orange also represents warmth. That usually is the representation of the color, but for an emotion, I would say the first thing that would come to me is, believe it or not, matters of, thoughts, but in some way washing away those thoughts, bringing in you. That's the way that I would describe orange as an emotion. There's a representation and there's also an emotion to it. And there's something very healing about orange as well too. It goes right next to the color of green, with the healing march of it all. I would, if you would say yellow, I would say travel, again, journey, distance, something to do with that. But on an emotional level, I would say healing and also warmth and you.
That's interesting. Yeah, for me, orange is like kind of similar to yellow, like a cautionary warning, in between, red and green. But
absolutely.
You know that from like, seeing, green, yellow, and red from stop signs, or traffic lights and things like that. Those are the common association of lights. It's kind of like right in the middle, that neutral. So I kind of feel neutral, or kind of, but that yellow can turn into an orange, which is closer to a red, which is more not really a stopping, but passion. It could be aggression, it could be love,
absolutely,
it could be healing, it could be a whole bunch of things. So it's interesting. Great question, CC. Thank you for asking that. So the first question I always ask all our guests simply is, why are you the way that you are? And what I mean by that is how did you get to here? Tell me about your life and what brought you to this moment.
Okay, so my family history, because I don't like to bring up the family history topic, but I have to, because that's how I got to where I am now. My grandmother had the longest psychic business running in the history of Canada. She was a Nobel Prize winner, and she was addicted to work. She had a shop downtown Toronto, like right in the heart of downtown Toronto. And she always had press come in and movies being filmed and editors coming in and journalists coming in all my life. And what she did is she got tired and she put me on camera instead of her. And I got very used to doing interviews by the time I was, 14. Prior to that, my mom had placed me off topic as a runway model for quite some time. And she wanted me to continue on with school, which was very normal. The identity that I carry, though, is my grandfather. He was the leader and the judge for the whole Canadian Gypsy tribe. And my father is now president of the Roma Gypsy Embassy, which is the only embassy for gypsies that is now existing in North America. And, he's had a lot of success, and even, Trudeau has given his support, and so has 11 Division of Police in Toronto. So, I mean, we come from a very big history of the entertainment world. My father was also a world-class musician. So it started for me at a really, really young age. And what happened is I had a massive amount of customers where my parents couldn't handle it. So by the time I hit 16 years old, my mom set me up and wished me luck and said, this is your shop and you're going to run it and do what you want and, you'll be fine. And I certainly was. And I continued on working steadily with my customers in my shop, but then also doing, psychic expos, doing different festivals, doing big corporate events, and constantly keeping myself busy, And I became very passionate about my career. And what happened is I was offered to do demonstrations and do lectures for literally thousands of people to explain to them the art of the chakras, to explain to them about angels and about rebirth and afterlife situations, which I have very much have experienced it myself as well too. So that's how it really, started for me. I had a lot of different towns that I was also making appearances, and different countries. I traveled up to 3 different countries a year, doing readings for people and doing psychic expos as well, and going as far as Europe, going as far as the West Indies, sharing this art that I have.
Well,
so yeah, it's
quite
been
the journey. It's
25
fascinating.
years. Yeah, it's definite, and it has brought me and so many other people into such a higher level. And what I feel is that I have been holding a lot of my premonitions inside since the last 5-6 years, because they're so strong and they're so informing, they're just too deep that it's so that it actually scares myself, like I get actually scared. And even my actions, over the last 5-6 years have been very, very different, because I believe as you get older, more forceful images come to you. And that is what has been happening with me.
Okay. So what does the experience feel like? Like, if you could describe to our listeners about your experience with psychic abilities, like how do you see or receive or feel this information before you express it?
That's the problem. I feel like I haven't had the opportunity to express or be as direct as I want to be, because people get afraid and people are in fear and people get intimidated, or sometimes they don't want to know the truth, and I literally see straight visions, and I get pulled and taken to different places where sometimes it's even too deep, that I have to pull out of it. And I believe that spiritual forces, it could be ancestors, it could be angels, it could be spirits. I believe that it is spirits that do work from the other side, that do take me into a trance in a different direction. Sometimes when I'm doing readings, things just come out of my mouth and I don't even think about it, it just comes out of my mouth and then it happens, or the customer will confirm, like, yes, you're right. And it's like, did that just come out of my mouth? A lot of things get revealed to me in dreams. I've had some loved ones that's also passed away, and I have definitely experienced some situations where loved ones have passed away. And to me, this all started with me explaining to a few of my customers in Toronto and family members that, Toronto was going to get hit with something. And what I described, and this was one of the reasons why I actually opened up a location in Timmins, because I knew that COVID was going to hit. And I ended up getting stuck in Toronto in my 20-year-old psychic shop for COVID. What I tried to run from, I couldn't. Yeah.
What did that feel like? Like, how did you know? Like, what was that feeling like when you knew?
It just ordinary, making my bed, starting off my morning, and a wave of energies just entering my body and seeing these visions. And what I was describing was the coronavirus. And my family, my customers reminded me when the pandemic did come out that I predicted this, and I went crazy and I ran, 5-6 years before. 1 year prior, to the pandemic, I already had my mask and gloves on seeing my customers, and that's a true fact. Yeah, and I didn't know why I had this fear, and that's where everything just started to gravitate for me very deeply. And I went through many, many trials with career, customers, health, trying to please the customers, trying to please the camera, trying to, juggle everything. And the premonitions got deeper and deeper and deeper. And it was some kind of gift, I think, that was given to me for safety, and protection. Because I've always told the truth to my customers, whether it hurt or not, I don't believe in holding back, because it hurts more when you do.
No, I can understand that, and it's been challenging for a lot of us, and it's almost near the end of this 2-year cycle of things we don't know. So how are you affected by that now? Then I guess you were able to sense it before it started. Are you able to determine when it's going to end, or where are we?
Yeah.
And where do you feel with that?
It was very spiritual.
Okay.
Extremely spiritual, and what happened, and I got the answers on why things happened to me before.
Okay.
That just happened. Yeah, I got all confirmation, and I seen the clear picture as soon as I returned back to my shop that everybody wanted me to. 4 years of me being gone, First off, there was always prophecy, not just in a biblical term or a biblical prophecy, but even by different prophets and mystics and seers, about when, as humans, and they put this in a prophecy, as humans, as living souls, once we're captivated, chained away, locked up, held, and once we're not able to go outside into the world, there's prophecy that the spirits will come back and take over and walk the earth again and rule the seas and rule the sky again. And that we will, both living and dead, will be equally judged. And it's very true. There's been a lot of paranormal activity that has been going on since this COVID. And,
do you think it's increased since this has happened? More people are experiencing it, or What do you think that is?
Absolutely. Well, because what I wouldn't agree more to what the prophets would say, and the mystics and the predictors. Why wouldn't the spirits rule the roads again, and the streets and the buildings, when we're locked away and we're held captivated? Why wouldn't they try to change something about this, being with the fact that they haven't crossed over to the great white light? They haven't. They're still their purpose, and they're here for judgment just like we are, so why wouldn't?
So like while we are in this physical realm, not doing the things we used to do, they were out in enjoying the space and the freedom of us not interfering with this cohabitation that we currently are living on. Is that what you're suggesting? Yeah.
Right. And they say psychics will take different shifts. Planets will change, which they already have. We don't consider Pluto a planet anymore. Since these last couple of years, Pluto has been crossed off as a non-existing planet, which I don't understand myself.
There's lots of theories behind that.
Oh, yeah. I think that there has been definitely a shift spiritually. especially when, there's people who want a fellowship, that want to talk about spirituality, whether you're a Jew, a Christian, a Muslim. We're 3 stars that came from Abraham that will all go back into one, like they say. We were one force and will be one force again.
I understand. Yeah, no, I totally understand. So when you're communicating, and how do you know, or psychically, when you're communicating psychically, do you know who or what it is you're communicating with, or like how does that work?
I got used to knowing who and what I'm at the beginning. It was very, very difficult and very frightening for me, and I shut it out. But now it's very different, where I find that different entities, different spirits, different energies, even ghosts feel more comfortable with me because I feel more comfortable with them, So it's a little bit more now harmonious. I get names, I get initials, I get different visions, and I definitely now know who I'm communicating with. Not all of them are good, not all of them are bad.
Is it a feeling? Is it a feeling of knowing, or do they tell you directly? Like, do they give you a specific communication that identifies who or what they are, or is it just a feeling, and then you associate that feeling with a interpretation?
I usually can see a physical image of them.
Okay.
That's like they'll just come to me physically.
Okay.
And their image of what they were before, or an image of what they were as they were younger. And that's how I identify them. And I think that that's how they identify me as well, too. So I can hear sometimes, sometimes it's confusing. You can't even hear a word that these spirits say because they talk in riddles, or sometimes they talk in different languages that you can't even understand. And sometimes if I can't see them physically, they'll drop something.
Okay.
Something will break. I had a very obscene paranormal situation just now when I first got back to Timmins. Like, it was this one, I was never viciously attacked like this, and it happened.
What happened there?
And thank God. I got a place last minute because there was so much going on in Toronto that I just wanted to get the show on the road and come here, because all of my customers here was waiting for so long, and I was Zooming with everybody while I was in Toronto. And I just wanted to hurry up. And I came into a home that was so not right for me. And as I was going on about my day setting up, one of my customers had asked me to do a blessing in her place because she felt like there was spirits in her place. And I went down to her place and I did do a blessing. Surprisingly, she was not lying. We didn't say too much because I've been, I don't really pay too much mind into house blessings. I've been doing it since so many years. And I came home. My blinds that were not hung up were sitting perfectly. I had 4 legs for my healing table that were sitting perfectly. And there was nobody in the basement. And the blinds just flew up from the back. And my friend was right there with me to see it. They just flew up from the back of my head and just went whack. And my friend pulled me and just, grabbed a hold on me. I don't know what would have happened if those blinds would have hit me. And I told my friend, don't panic. It's going to be okay. It's because I blessed my customer's home. Whatever came from her home followed me, and the legs all fell down, and somebody was even tapping metal in my basement and banging, tapping, banging, tapping, banging. And this is where I say there has been enormous amount of paranormal activity since this COVID situation, because the cases that I had in Toronto were unbelievable. And it wasn't about, love or insecurity or, I want my ex-boyfriend back. This was about family, about health, life and death situations, and a lot of paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
I even felt things manifest inside of me, that I had to really cleanse and purify myself with.
Do you think because this event has been more of a group think, like a group experience, a large scale experience, that a lot of people maybe have been in fear or communicating or thinking, of the possibility of things ending? Do you think that may have influenced the messages in which you were receiving, with the way that people are feeling? Is there any association with that?
Fear is how you fall. What you visualize in your mind can manifest into an actual reality. It's all about manifestation. And
go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
With fear comes attacks, because energy sense it, people sense it. People sense vulnerability. A lot of family feuds in the last couple of years too. They say brother will go against brother, sister will go against sister, children fighting, and of course these kind of fears is going to enforce that negativity. So yeah, you're very right with that.
And the reason why I was asking that is because I was just kind of trying to figure out the association or dissociation between the communication with something. So in terms of my studies, personally, I'm unclear of whom or what people who are gifted like yourself are communicating with, and I'm trying to understand if it's possible for psychics like yourself to communicate with other human beings, with them projecting thoughts, and if that's possible. Even if it is or isn't possible, you think it's possible, and if it is, are you able to determine the difference between, me thinking and you intercepting that thought versus someone who has passed on?
Right, and that is, I believe, confusing for everyone. It's not just you. Mind reading. Now, people who's passed on, no matter what, genetics are genetics. DNA is DNA, and there's always that part of that person or that energy of that person that usually is never ending, and it goes down from generation to generation. With mind reading, you could do it two ways. You can open your mind up, and there's many ways of doing that through stimulation, meditation, expansion of the third eye, healthy exercise, healthy diet, to really go into a person's mind. And it's so very possible. You could do it in a shamanic way. You can do it. There's various different ways of mind reading. You could do it in a way of reading a person's eyes, lips, teeth, body language, and you could, it really can happen. And when you're reading those person's thoughts, if you really want to penetrate, the key is not to be in fear once you're in there, because it could be very scary when you're in somebody's head, because you feel like you're leaving your own, and you could feel like you're leaving your own space,
Mm-hmm.
So, but mind reading, It's very possible. Connecting with loved ones who have passed on, 100% for sure. And sometimes they'll even let you know where they're at.
Okay. You're very open with these predictions. When you deliver them on a public
I think I should be now, because I think I should be. The reason why I hid so much was my fears. I knew too much. And instead of me expressing what I knew or even writing them down on the book, I took temper tantrums instead of expressing them, because I knew what was going to happen, and I knew all the ugliness that was to come, and what I feared did actually happen. And I was too busy going through the motions of everything like everybody else, you know? But yeah, I have to be open now. What I see, I'm going to just express it.
Now, you do a lot of these on an individual basis, but do you ever receive any messages that are meant for, humanity, or more global, a more global message?
That's what's been going on with me. Okay. I've been seeing more of that, and that's where my visions are leading me to. I don't know why, and I don't want to question the reason too much, but I'm seeing a lot of things globally and predicting certain things for this Pacific country and that Pacific country. And when there was a complete terrible, disgusting murder spree in an underground party in Toronto, I dreamt of that murder scene. It was one of the biggest scenes that Toronto had in many years. A lot of things weren't on the news there and what was really going on in the city. They hid a lot of things, but that one Pacific. And I honestly felt calling up, to certain people that I'm connected to from the city, and, explain to them this vision that I seen, the dream that I had, word from word, and even location. The next thing you know, I see the clips on the news, and I get a knock at the door, and somebody tells me what happened, and it's like, yeah, I just dreamt of all of it last night, So yeah. And I think that's why I'm determined to just express it all.
Okay. Well, that's good. I mean, it's hard. It's good that you're doing that. I mean, when messages are coming in and you're channeling, and you don't really know the why or the who, but it's you just feel that that need to not hold it in, but to express it. Now, when you express it, though, like how is the reaction? Like, I mean, is it positive? Is it negative? People get mad? Are people happy with it? Like how are because you're just a messenger in this sense. So how do you gauge the reaction of the people?
And what I learned in 25 years of doing this, every person's different. Every person takes information and absorbs it differently. Some people get overwhelmed. Some people, it gives them strength. Some people feel better getting clarification and knowing what's ahead for them and knowing what's ahead for the world. A lot of people believe, and I'm not talking about, small people, but a lot of people who run this country appreciate the information, because, it's always good to kind of be open to everything. You don't have to follow it, but just, accept it. And every person is different towards these reactions, and these visions that I see or information that's given to them. there's mostly stronger people than weaker people. People usually feel comfortable of getting the clarity.
My mic is muted. I didn't realize that. Sorry about that. And so I can understand that when you're, it's hard to gauge because you might not interpret the meaning of the message, and then when you provide the message, and then the message may be interpreted either right or wrong, but then you got to kind of deal with a reaction in real time. So how do you balance that with in terms of I'm just doing what I believe I need to do versus absorbing the results of that? Like how do you take care of you and all that?
I feel when I got a lot of karma because of what I do. So I have to really be on a straight line, and I got to be very spiritual at all times. I got to constantly protect myself and do different, because I do different ceremonies as well. I do spiritual treatment. So I got something always on top of me, and it's like, if you share this information, I'm going to make everything run smoothly for you. If you don't, well, everything's going to go this way and that way, and everything's going to go backwards. And, if this specific customer needs you, well, your whole world is just going to come crumbling down till you go there and you see that customer, So the best thing that I've learned is, first, I embrace it to the higher power. I give it to the higher power, and I'm very grateful because I've had 2 life and death experiences, and my second death, believe it or not, was 2021. January the 7th, I passed. And, I embrace a lot to the heavens and the other side. When I receive this kind of information, I always pray for survival. I ask the guides to help me with the survival. And what I do is I either release it, spiritually from myself, or another way is now just telling Pacific people and talking about it and telling them what you see and, what you feel is going to happen. Mm-hmm. Because if I don't, I feel like there's just something always tapping on me saying, no, you turn around and go this way. Yeah.
No. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I'm having trouble with my mic. Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay right now?
I can hear you fine. I can hear you perfect.
Perfect. All right. I just wanted to make sure on that. Okay. So with your public predictions that you've made, like what are some of those that you've made in the past? And have any of those come true?
The Olympics. Okay. My predictions were bang on for certain years with the Olympics. I have predicted Stanley Cup. I've predicted a lot of sports predictions. The COVID, which was a very important one because I got a lot of publicity for that because the news spread very quickly. They said I was the only psychic in Toronto that kind of said this and this and this was going to happen. That was a very accurate prediction. It scared me. Publicly, predictions for Toronto Life magazine and their future and where they should be. So people want to know specifics about sports, about their companies. They want to know what's going to happen in Pacific countries as well too. So It's all there.
Good. So if you were to, like, when was your most recent prediction? Like, are you able to predict anything at this moment to, that we could maybe document for the first time and come back to this episode later on and see that it came true? Like, how accurate is this for you? Or like, how easy can you do this?
Pretty easy,
Okay.
because it's been such a long time. Well, what I think that's going to be happening specifically right now for our nation, because I think right now that's really the most important thing, because we can't help others unless we help ourselves. And what's going to happen, and what's happening right now already with our nation, and on the political point, yes, we are going to be free of COVID. More is going to get revealed to us, and we're going to have a clear picture and an understanding why this all happened. A lot of Canadian citizens are going to wake up and smell the coffee and see things very, very clearly. Can
you elaborate on what exactly it is we're going to see?
I don't want to say too much, because there's a lot of people listening, but we're going to have a better understanding onto everything that's what's going on right now. And a lot of people is, believe it or not, going to take, even though we're tired of social distancing right now, and we're all lonely and we want to, reunite with one another. A lot of people is going to be taking their own individual stands right now and taking time for themselves, because there is going to be a lot of political changes in Canada over the next 2-3 years. My goodness, is there going to be so many changes for this country. And I think that a lot of people right now is going through rebirths in their careers, in their companies. And this is something that I think everybody wants right now. Is the new, the fresh, the beginning, and not with the new world of COVID, but the new world and what they're going to do with their lives and their careers. This is going to be a very important year for all Canadians with careers right now. It really is. Apart from what I see, I don't think the Liberal Party is going to win for the next election.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I believe the Liberal Party is going to be out. I believe that so many people left, this foundation that they built that was a very new world to the Liberals as well. It's very non-liberal, but they're Liberals. I do feel that a lot of people is going to speak out about the situation and what has been hidden in the Liberal family. I'm a Liberal myself, but you know what? As of now, I'm staying outside of the box,
Yeah. So, like, well, I mean, politics is difficult. I mean, it's one opinion versus another opinion. And it's just one way and then another way. And then one is soft, one is hard. And then when it's too soft for so long, people almost want something harder, and then they vote for harder. But then when they get hard, it's too hard. So then they want soft again. So it's like we kind of need not liberal or conservative. We would benefit from some sort of unity or a combination of either side. That's my personal opinion on that, because and it's very easy to say that when the world is the way that it is, when a specific party is in parliament, that the opposing side would be able to handle it. But they're also using that right now because they want to be elected. And then, so it's very convenient and very beneficial to that campaign, but it's not always true. And I always look at politics, again, as a business. You got one person responsible of many, and many different beliefs on either side. Even though that majority is liberal, we still have conservative. That we still have some provinces that are conservative. So, but still under liberal. So, it's you got to look at the sources and stuff. So for me, yes, there's a change. I see that too. Election changing, maybe, I see that being evident as well, but I don't think that's going to change or fix anything. I think that's just the pattern.
I agree.
And if we could somehow, I wouldn't say remove the election process, but somehow unite and come together. And I know they say this new world order. If you would remove the order from that and just say, as you said, new world, because it is a new world, because the current world as it was has been destroyed, and we're going to have to rebuild and create a new world to continue living. We have to be very careful and very concerning about who is in charge of that new world. And if liberal is in charge of that new world, or conservative is in charge of that new world, or either side of them capable of doing better, when they were both had their chance moving forward in the past, one way or the other, and neither one has been completely successful, because had it been, we would have straight liberal for so long or straight conservative for so long with majority vote. Right. So it's designed in itself to be good cop, bad cop, to just level out the people. And when the people endure something for so long, they want change, and it's an option to change. So I can understand the gravitational pull towards a change in parliament, because the current parliament is dealing with a pandemic. But at the same time, there's not enough information to know whether or not a conservative would be able to handle the pandemic differently. So it's easy for them to say we would do it differently after it's over, right? And then but we need to have another one to see how they would handle it in order to really determine. So moving forward, what I would like to see, if it's even possible, is a new word or a new term that brings both of them together, because there are times that we need to be conservative. There are times we need to be liberal, but it can't be one or the other.
Right. Exactly.
And then where I see unity, I see that in, we never talk politics in this, but this is something that I'm kind of getting into here. But when the only way I see unity is through the people, because when the people are working with the people and trying to help people just survive and live in the world, there's unity there. It doesn't matter if you're liberal, it doesn't matter if you're conservative, it doesn't matter your race, doesn't matter your sex, none of that stuff matters, because we're helping each other. So like the what if the new world was ran by the people and not the politics? What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's exactly what this nation needs right now at this point, because even the good politics that have tried their best has had way too much pressure on them. And, I said it was just a matter of time with these poor politics, dealing with all of these stresses and pressure, because, the important ones and the leaders are not, it was just a matter of time. I said that before they have a meltdown, before they crack down, and you've seen each individual person trying to save this nation and the rest of the world through government and everything being political, and nothing worked. And you've seen that even the leaders of this country were falling apart and cracking. So that's what we need. One thing I can tell, I know very clearly in my predictions is this: we're going to go through some tough economic times this summer, but as soon as October, September hits, economically things are going to be getting much more better in Canada and for this province as well too. And it's not because of government assistance or support. It's really us taking forces into our own hands and trying and helping one another as well too. So I do see a lot of humanity, and I see a lot of wonderful people helping out those who want to get their lives back on track. I don't see the government really involved with this new beginning for this province, this nation. I don't see after Christmas us going through any more lockdowns. That's one positive. I don't believe that there is going to be any more lockdowns, period. They might put some more restrictions up possibly by August, September. And so far, I have been like spot on with my predictions throughout this pandemic, and everything that just comes out of my mouth just happens. So I'm very confident when I'm answering this question to you. And I really do believe that all of this is definitely going to be coming to an end. We're not going to get rid of COVID. It's not going to happen right now. It's still going to spread around. And I don't think that it's going to stop till 2024, mid 2024. And after that, it's going to be like, to people like it as it never even happened. People's just going to start moving forward and washing their hands from it and not even wanting to know about it. So, it's definitely coming to an end. There's much more of a positive future right now for this nation and also internationally with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
It does look like it's getting much better.
Well, I mean, there's lots of things that are happening all over the place that can help us predict or project or see, because there's a pattern. There's things that are developing, there are things that are changing, and there's a bit of hope. And it does seem like it's moving in a more positive direction than it has been in the past. But you know that it's going to be done completely by 2024. Yep. So, but we're not going backwards. We're on the return route to whatever that's going to be.
Yeah. Economically, Canada is going to be on a boom in 2023. Like we're surprisingly, it's just going to really skyrocket. My premonition is right after Christmas and New Year's of next year. People, it is going to go on a boom. It's just, people shouldn't really expose too much,
right?
Because what I do predict for this nation is we are going to have a lot of invaders in the next 5 to 7 years.
What do you mean by invaders?
There is. I don't think that Canada is going to be attacked or there's going to be any wars happening at all. No, I just think that there's a lot of desperate people right now. There's a lot of desperate nations right now. And I think that we're going to have a lot of people looking into this nation and this country. And again, it's going to be up to us mostly than the government and what to do with that too.
Okay. All right, well, we'll pause right here, but we will continue after a message from our sponsors. If you're listening to the audio-only version, head over to youtube.com/The Experience Your Support Association so you see the video that goes with this audio. You're listening to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat, a podcast by the Experience Your Support Association, and we will be right back.
It's your business. It's your property. Your assets are worth protecting. Blacklight Investigative and Surveillance Services specializes in patrolling and inspecting residential or commercial property against fire, theft, vandalism, terrorism, and illegal activity. People and buildings are monitored to prevent crime. Keep your property, your people, and your assets safe from threat. Our elite staff are dual licensed private investigators and security guards. Blacklight Investigative and Surveillance Services. Go to blacklightiss.com.
The same thing that draws aliens to our planet is the same thing that draws us to others. Exploration, curiosity, sustainability of life. That's why we go. It would make sense as to why they're visiting here.
Travis! Quit playing around, man. Get back here. Travis!
The last thing I remember was this numbing shock. Stunning sort of a feeling. Very powerful.
Get away from me!
I was just out of my mind with fear, just screaming the whole time.
It's been theorized that aliens prefer remote areas because they don't want to attract attention. Whatever it is that they're doing, they would want to do that in a less populated area. There are multiple accounts of the same thing from people from all over the world. People that do not know each other, do not live in the same cultures, and they're all looking up, they're all seeing things in the sky. So it would be naive of us to think that
Ryan is one of Canada's leading new UFO investigators. He conducts and oversees UFO investigations on a constant basis and was really taken by his research. He's compiled a tremendous amount of data regarding UFOs in Canada. Just as interesting, he really goes over how UFO investigations are done and what are some of the mistakes that people make when they submit evidence. Note for starters, don't edit your videos or photos before you send them. If you want to hear more follow-up conversation between Ryan and myself, you can go to richardolanmembers.com, where we have a candid conversation on ufology, the paranormal, and more. And remember, while we learn and grow and search for the truth, let's be good to each other.
Welcome to the Observation Deck, a state-of-the-art, one-of-a-kind virtual platform that takes video conferencing to the next level by using avatars to navigate a campus, just like you would in real life. First, you install the application and design your very own unique avatar. Then you're free to explore the various areas of the campus at any time from anywhere. There's so many areas and activities to choose from on the platform. There's a 1,000-seat auditorium, a large expo hall, a movie theater, a nightclub, an art gallery, and even a beach. Come attend a conference, or take a class, or hear a lecture. Meet new friends and interact directly with presenters. It's all right here on the incredible Observation Deck campus. Where in the world will you go?
Have you ever wondered, or maybe just thought to yourself, if there were others just like you? You know, people with extraordinary abilities, psychogenic advancement, and perhaps unique intuitions. Maybe you just wondered if there were other people who experienced unimaginable, unexplained, or even unusual and paranormal events. Are there people who have more questions, more fears than answers? Well, you're not alone. You've never been alone. We believe you. Sign up for EA today by going to tesacan.org/EA. That's TESACAN.org/EA. Well, welcome back. You are listening to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat. Did you know that we have a private community chat for members on our YouTube channel? If you become a member, you will get bonus content like exclusive videos, including bloopers, behind the scenes, and members-only Q&A. Also, if you've ever experienced an unexplained event involving the paranormal, UFOs, extraterrestrials, dogman, or any other paracryptid, head over to tesacan.org/reporting system. Tesacan.org. So TESACAN.org/reporting system. Let the others who have already reported be that example that proves we are making a difference. And if it wasn't for those reports, we would not be able to do what we do. And for that, we thank you. So I am going to see if I have any members here. So I'm going to say hello to any members here before we get started. Hello, CC. Hello, Serena. I see Dave Petrella there. Hello, Dave. Hello, Lisa. Good to see ya. All right. So, Psychic Nina, how you doing? You still good? You're holding in? You're good?
I'm holding in. I'm great. Thank you. How are you? You're good?
Oh yeah, I'm good. I'm really good. Okay, so let's turn the table just a little bit and dive into something more interesting, but yet it might end up towards kind of what we were just talking about before the break. But before we get into that, I'm curious to know how you feel about the word witch or witchcraft, and how you would define that if you could.
Two ways, black and white, yin and yang. My belief, because I'm a very happy, bubbly, person, I said it 3 years ago when I got charged right at that moment. I think it's cute. There's cute witches, there's bad witches, there's good and there's bad. Does witches exist? Absolutely. And they've been around for thousands of years. They've just changed the names, and the labels for witches, absolutely. But what do I think as a witch? It depends on what type of witch you are, Again, it goes to good and bad. There's the bad witches who tend to give false doctrine, which I believe is a no-no, and I can say these things now being that it's legalized. It's a no-no. There's witches who go by cult rather than their own spirit and their own feeling. There's witches that go by their religious beliefs rather than their own personal powers. And it could be very complicated with the term of witch or even witchcraft, Mm-hmm. But there's male witches, there's female witches, and everybody has a certain specific power. And I believe it's your choice as well, God gave every person their own free will. I'm no better than God. I'm no bigger than God. And you could choose to be a witch or you could choose not to be a witch. It all depends on you.
So, no, I completely understand that. So the term itself is not being used appropriately, I guess in terms of stereotypes and stigmatism and propaganda. The assumption is witch is bad, and you said like there's good witches and bad witches and all that. So you need to decide which are we talking about. Right. So would there be a different term to use that to describe the same being that wouldn't already have some instilled negative connotation attached to it?
There's plenty of names. There's mystics, there's seers, there's shamans. You know, there's so many different terms and so many different names that you can personally call a witch. There's pagans, there's mystic fairies, you know, there's so many different names that you can, they could say a hoodoo priest, a voodoo priest. There's so many different, witch doctor, so many different terms.
So these are just labels to describe the same these abilities. So
Right.
how? So what is common amongst those labels? I guess, like, I mean, I could tell you what I think about that, but I'm curious to know if we remove the label and didn't call it anything, and we were to describe the being, male or female, how would you describe it? What characteristics do they have? What type of being are you and others who use these terms to describe what they think they may or may not be?
Well, it starts off with supernatural powers. It starts off what you manifest inside of your head, and sometimes what you could wish on a person, and sometimes sending them good luck, sometimes sending them bad luck, you know. That would, if there was no name or label, that's what the purpose of having that power or that name would be. There's people like myself and others who use natural herbal supplements, you know, to heal others. There's people who make Pacific medicines, you know, and even have spiritual traditions or tribal traditions that was passed down to use to heal. There's mischievous ways of using Pacific candles to bring a lover directed towards you, or making your own Pacific candle. There's ways of you calling upon Mother Nature and energies and the four bides of the north, the south, the east, the west, the four elements of the fire, the earth, the air, and the water, you know, combining those all together and giving out that energy and embracing it and spreading it around. And it's up to you and your feeling, you know, if you don't have a good feeling doing something like that and you wish bad, or you're forcing destiny and you're using supernatural forces and powers and materials and different, even voodoo dolls to force destiny, of course that is going to come back, right?
So with supernatural, you know, that term essentially is an enhancement to natural, you know, natural movements or function. There's paranormal, which also means just something above normal, not normal. So when you say supernatural, and you take in consideration that it's you know, it's extra, or it's more than the average, what kind of influence do you think, do you believe is responsible for that additive function? Or is it evolution, or is it, you know, extraterrestrial, paranormal? Like, you know, where is the super coming from?
Right. And that's a key question, and that's the best question. We all question that. And sometimes if we search too deep and we look into the sun, the moon, and the stars too far and go too deep, we definitely can get lost, you know, in that sense. But the supernatural, my theory, it comes from everything. It comes from extraterrestrial, which that's another prediction I have. There is definitely going to be encounters of other species and other life on planets. And I really do believe in the next years to come, we're all going to be actually interacting with these different species and forms of life.
But on this planet, or someone else, or another planet?
It's going to be both.
Okay. Do you have a year? Do you have a year at all?
I can't see an exact year, but the way that I think my opinion on this all is it's going to be discovered in 2023, but it's not going to be released to the public until 2024, 2025. But it's not going to be threatening or alarming where we're actually going to have some kind of universal battleship like we've had before in the past. There is no universal war. There is no universal battleship whatsoever. It's just interaction and actually breaking down the fear and people coming forward and speaking out, and these other beings coming forward and speaking out. I don't actually see it being a threat. I see it being more as a beginning and understanding. It's new knowledge to us and it's new knowledge to them, but not threatful.
Well, see, now would be the best time. I mean, in consideration of how everything needs to change, everything as it was is no longer. If you follow the Catholic and Christian Bible, like these are the end times as it's been written. There has not been anything written beyond these times. So if we go back to the beginning,
and may I just say I was already there. I was already there just last year. A new dimension, a new world.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean you were already there? Where's there? What do you mean? Can you clarify?
When, and I questioned, this was the first time that I questioned God and faith, and even not believing that there was a heaven. I was very upset for everything that was going on in my psychic shop in Toronto, and I did some major plastic surgery. And just before the surgery, my aunt had passed away. And the moment that I was standing up, not dreaming, not in meditation, completely awake, alert, and standing up in the middle of the day, and my body went somewhere else universally. And I think that it was her trying to show me that she was going up. I was being lifted. I don't know what was carrying me, but I know I wasn't walking. And I was going into this trance of lights, as if I was going into outer space, as if I was going into the clouds, but these rays of light just coming at me, and me just going somewhere else, and this force and this wind and everything just getting white and bright as I went through this. And then on January the 7th, which is the Orthodox Christmas, I went for my second emergency surgery. And I was at the point where I wanted to die. That, like, honestly, I didn't care to even live, because there was just so many things happening. And when I went for my surgery, I ended up passing underneath the table during surgery. And I was somewhere completely different. And I know that it was home. It was, and I got very attached to where I was, and coming down, it was very emotional. It was like I was a newborn baby all over again. That feeling of being reborn all over. So there is another side. There really is. There is another world. And it's beautiful. You know, it really, really is. It's being built. It's not completed yet. It isn't, but it's being built. Yeah.
That's like, I mean, near-death experiences are something that we are, a lot of people are studying and trying to understand. You know, I cannot challenge, you know, anyone who has been that close to see what's on the other side. But I can say that what you share through that experience is common. And it's frightening to me in the sense of knowing, you know, why do we have to endure so much? And then yet that's so peaceful, but yet, you know, we have to go when we're ready, you know, or when our time is and things like that. So like there's a lot of things, there's a lot of challenges with knowing that, because it's not certain. I know, I understand it feels good and better than the situation and stuff and perspectives, but it's I've always have these fears of knowing, like, how do we know for sure, you know, that in the moment, sure, it's good, but then it's going to be good continuing afterwards. And then, you know, I always worry about that, but I never know what to say. So I acknowledge your experience, and
Beautiful.
I really don't have, I don't know what to say. You know, it's part of it. Trying to understand where this place is, what this means, our purpose, and everything as well. I mean, to tie into to the knowing and understanding, and to come back to the whole government unraveling and rules and regulations, paranormal and supernatural abilities, and even witchcraft, if you will. I mean, it was known in ancients, so well known that it had to be possible, so possible, that governments had enacted law to prevent individuals from practicing it or doing it. So it's my understanding that you personally have been charged within Canada for witchcraft a few years ago, just before our Prime Minister Justin Trudeau repealed the law. So I'm just wanting to know, you said so it is true, and if you could share, like, I guess what you did, if you can remember what the law was specifically, as well. So what you did, what led up to the rest, how was that whole thing? How did that all go down? And I mean, the conversation with the police officers, the charge, like whatever you went through to I don't know if you were convicted or got out of it, or however that went down, but walk me through that. What happened, and what was that like?
They didn't even fingerprint me. They didn't even handcuff me. It's a summary charge. It was under the 365 code of witchcraft. So it was not a big deal at all, but for some reason it made international headlines. Like, I was on the news everywhere in the States, everywhere in Canada, all over Toronto. And so many people were standing up for me and supporting me and fighting for me. And many customers, which I still have the documents, wrote out testimonies because it was, to what they believed, completely stupid and ridiculous. And I know why it all happened.
Okay.
I was the last woman in Canada to be charged with witchcraft. My grandmother was also charged with witchcraft. She never went to jail or stayed in a cell. It was always a summary fine. So
it's still a charge, though. So, like, what were you doing in order for the police officers to have reasonable grounds to at least go through the process?
There really wasn't any reasonable grounds. I worked hard for $100 service that I provided. Mm-hmm. I wasn't even supposed to be charged for $100 service. You know, I stayed with the lady for 2 hours and provided her with a crystal ball reading and a tarot card reading. I never gave her a candle, a crystal, a incense. I never took down any of her information. She asked me for help.
Mhm.
I gave her a very simple quote for her candles and material if I was to proceed and do spiritual work for her. She didn't seem to have a problem, but I knew that it was going to happen. In fact, one day before I got charged, I told my husband, you know, if I get arrested for fortune telling, don't worry, it's going to be all good. And he's like, what are you, insane? And I remember me just crying and screaming one day before, and then there you go, it happened. Jealousy.
Yeah, so it sounds like
It was
you were
fight with it was a fight. It was a situation where I had a lot of competitors, not just one, there was multiple. And the truth is, and I even talked about this 3 years ago, it was a setup. And it was a setup because of who my father is. And you know, it was publicized, way over publicized, which I didn't mind satisfying the press because, you know, I love yous. I love the press. I love interviewers. I love being on camera. I love sharing any form of spirituality that I can. And God bless the press because they were wonderful with me throughout this whole, you know, political situation. I don't think that I did anything wrong, and that's why the charge was dropped and the charge was withdrawn.
It sounds like you've provided a service, it was set up or not. You know, there was an opinion on whether or not the service was adequate enough to whatever the individual expected. And then instead of working with you as a customer for any sale or any business, they made a report to the police. And because there was legislation in the Criminal Code of Canada that allowed that gave police grounds to make a charge under that legislation, it's what led them to do that. And then you go through the due process and all that other stuff. So that's why we have the justice system to make sure that, you know, whether crime is, has committed. But the thing that's sorry, go ahead.
My theory to this, because I used to explain this to all of my customers, and this is another reason why I got arrested, because they probably had me on recording. I told many of my customers, and they could stand up for me. Witchcraft should have been at that time illegal because it is not a joke. It could be very, very serious, and it could, in fact, God forbid, be deadly. And I've even explained this to police that's come in for my services.
See, that had to be known in order for them to make a law to forbid it.
Yes. Absolutely.
Right. So there's evidence in that law on its own to suggest that it's possible. And that is fascinating and interesting. What I'm hearing, though, you know, like if it was, there's other laws in Canada that you could be charged for: fraud, perjury, a deception. There's a whole bunch of other things that not even associated with witchcraft. So this was specific to witchcraft, which is not a common law. It's in the book. I'm pretty sure that the police officer probably wasn't aware of it at the time, and it had to have been communicated by the person who reported it, which means they were aware of it. Which heavily suggests to me, as you mentioned before, that it likely was a setup. And as you mentioned before, with in the police officer's role, if there's enough evidence to suggest that something has happened, then they would go through, and if the law exists, then they have to follow through, because then will be consequences for them not doing that if the civilian happens to be more informed than the police officer at that time. But then when you go through the legal process with the courts, that's part of it, balancing it. And then eventually, maybe that was what's indicated, got that law on the list when Trudeau had, appealed or repealed, mind you, a lot of the laws that have been silly and in the past as well. So on one hand, it's fascinating and interesting to know that enough information was known at the time to make it illegal. It's the same thing with psychedelic, drugs, substances. Marijuana at the time was prohibited, and then now legal. It existed. So if it existed, that means magic existed. That means whatever it is that you're doing is so possible.
And it wasn't just
they had to regulate and restrict it to enforce the misuse of it. That's what it is. It's not that you were forbidden from using it. It was just the idea of using it improperly, which means they would have to know how to use it properly in order to establish a law.
Right.
And that just blows my mind, because
it could be malicious witchcraft. Well, my grandfather, I'll give you one story.
Mm-hmm.
He was basically our gypsy king. He was our ruler in Canada. And my grandmother had a lot of enemies because she had an office downtown for like 40 years, over 40 years. And a woman was in competition with my grandmother. And, she was having her fights with my grandmother. And she said, your husband's going to die. And 3 days later, he had a massive stroke. And about 2-3 days later after that, he passed. And that neighbor went and told all the other neighbors, it was me who did it. I got voodoo dolls and I stuck it in his heart, And this is why I got into trouble, because I informed a lot of people and my customers about how malicious witchcraft can be and what it can cause a person. Of course, my grandfather and my grandmother was going to get affected by that because they were in that world, They lived off of, telling fortune and mystical arts and all of that. So, of course, he was going to get affected by that. So, I mean, yeah, and I explained this to everybody.
Like the challenge with psychic abilities and law enforcement, it's hearsay evidence. It's circumstantial evidence. It's really hard because we don't have empirical evidence that guarantees and knowing that there is an afterlife or another life or interdimension. So, but at the same time, we don't have enough information to prove that it doesn't exist. So it falls in that belief in that religion kind of,
which makes it so confusing.
Right. But then you have situations where psychic mediums are used to locate missing persons that have been murdered or passed on or whatever, to locate, the remains. So there are cases that in which the ability could be used to assist in a police investigation.
100%.
So I'm just wondering I'm just trying to put my investigator hat on to try to wonder be a fly in the room, to be like, as the officer reading the law and saying, I have to do this because of like what evidence was present. So I don't know. That's strange.
That's why I never got charged in Toronto for anything.
So the officer was just doing his due diligence based on how it was written and how it was communicated by the person of interest who made the claim, who made the report. So the officer was doing their job. The legal system did their job as per usual. Became aware of this law that they didn't know existed, and then sometime down the road it was added to the list and gotten rid of. But it still existed all this time. So how do you think the law was enacted in the first place? What happened?
I don't exactly know what happened, but I wouldn't say that every witch that was persecuted in the olden days and who was brutally punished was all innocent. You know, there, like you said, there must have been a very strong reason on why they made witchcraft illegal. And I think that there was a lot of cult leaders that, again, gave false doctrine that could have even led these people into different cults, perhaps even satanic worship. And they went completely, you know, out of their mind following whatever they were taught to believe. And it became very malicious, violent, deadly. So they had no choice but to put some restriction and law on it, you know? Because a lot of people get confused in spirituality. It doesn't matter if you're a pagan, a Wiccan, a born again Christian. We're all vulnerable when it comes to spirituality, and we could be very easily manipulated, and we could, you know, try to follow whatever we're told to as best. So I think that that's probably why they made it illegal and what brought this all up, you know?
I'm trying to share my screen, but it won't let me do it without resetting this chat. But I did find in an old archive, because it's still there, the original law. So I'm going to read it out here. So it's you're right, 365 is the code. And it's pretending to practice witchcraft, etc. So words are important. So pretending to practice witchcraft. So in order, if it's illegal to pretend, how do they know you're not really? How do you know it's not true unless they know it's possible to do it for real? So if you were accused of being a charlatan or a fake or a spook at the time, you know, it would make sense as to you know, the claim of the assailant there to move forward with these accusations. But how does the government know the difference between actual witchcraft and pretending? Are you still there? You're frozen. I hope she's still there. Uh-oh. So I'll just continue reading here. I hope, Cece, let me know if you can still hear me. Oh, she disappeared. Yeah, I'll bring you in here. I'll just continue the thought here, and hopefully she pops back on. So 365 says, everyone who fraudulently, A, pretends to exercise or to use any kind of witchcraft, sorcery, enchantment, or conjuration. So let's emphasize on that. Pretends to exercise. You know, it's okay to actually use witchcraft, sorcery, and enchant and do conjuration.
But don't go around doing Harry Potter.
But
That's why they're burning all those books.
But don't pretend to do it.
Yeah.
And then subsection B says, everyone who fraudulently undertakes for a consideration or to tell fortunes, right? So fortune telling. Or C, anyone who fraudulently pretends from his skill, it says his here, his skill in or knowledge of an occult or crafty science to discover where or what manner anything that is supposed to have been stolen or lost may be found. So pretending is
basically
the key
lying.
word.
Yeah, they're admitting it's real. Magic is real. It's just
it's illegal. Oh, you're back. Hi there. So we'll keep CC in here. So we're just finishing the thought. We were just saying, I'll read it again, but like the law itself says, everyone who fraudulently pretends to exercise or to use any kind of witchcraft, sorcery, enchantment, or conjuration, pretends from his skill in or knowledge of an occult or crafty science to discover where or in what manner anything that is supposed to have been stolen or lost may be found. So in a nutshell, it's illegal to do all these magical things pretending. But if you can do it for real, it's okay. So how does the government discern what is real and what is pretend?
Well, you notice how they specifically use the male gender version of it?
Yeah, I see that there. Oh, she's gone again. Oops,
Yeah, I thought she might have froze. Yeah, so that just indicates how old that law is. Does it say what year? It's probably like 1800s.
Well, it was modified March 7th, 2022.
What?
Yeah, modified according to the website. But the version is from 2003, January 1st to 2018. So maybe it wasn't even.
Thought that's when it would have been like repealed around that time frame.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, there she is. You back?
Sorry. So sorry.
Okay. It's
no,
okay.
You're working
it's
now.
Okay. Well, I might as well keep you on there, CC, if you don't mind. You want to just...
No, I'm good. Yeah, we'll stay on.
You're here. So if you will, Nina, we were just trying to fathom how the legal Canadian legal system was able to determine the difference between pretending witchcraft and actually performing witchcraft. So
I think the 365 code is the same for pretend. I never heard of pretending to practice witchcraft. That was the first time for me. I just knew of the witchcraft charge.
That is the witchcraft charge. Pretending to be a witch is punishable.
It says pretending to be a witch, which we were both surprised about because it's like, how do you know?
Yeah, it is very surprising. Exactly, because there could be those crazy malicious killer witches out there, which there's. I would not say that.
But if they're real killer witches, it's okay. It's not illegal, according to law.
Dave is asking Nina's opinion on the map. I don't know if you're willing to share that.
I can't share my screen. It's not working.
Oh, yeah.
Let me see if I can bring something up. Good question there, Sir David. Let me see if I can find the map for you. Keep the convo going for me there, Stacey.
Yeah. So I'm trying to remember how that was going. So we were just talking about how they would know if it was witchcraft or not. Sorry, my mind went to the map.
Yeah, I don't really have it like on at the ready here, but I gotta find it.
I do believe that you would bring it in the olden days to trial, and I believe that the person that was proclaimed as a witch, they'd have to prove in the olden days if they was or they wasn't. They'd have to investigate and determine whether that person was a witch or not. Yeah.
Well, then it was also that person doing
the pretending aspect of it,
doing something that couldn't be explained. And we're looking at science, and we're looking at trying to understand.
Some people.
What is a miracle? What is a miracle?
Yeah. So we're also looking at the dates and times of things, right? Understanding
Brian,
of.
Can you tell us when the last, like the earliest witchcraft charge was under that fine, like prior to Nina and like others?
Wow, not off the top of my head. I could probably find the answer for you. Hold on, let me find the map.
I'm okay.
I'm still looking for. I'm still looking for that. Hold on here. I should have this.
Yeah. So Nina, how was that experience for you? Like, it sounded like it was pretty stressful, and you sort of anticipated it a bit, right?
Yeah, I was very grateful that I had so many people defending me. Like, that was a blessing, and I think that gave me a lot of strength, and that gave me a lot of power, and that's why I fought off the charge and it was withdrawn. And I think if it wasn't for, it made me, the way that I felt, it made me closer to my customers, and like, it only made me work harder for them and give it my best, give it my all. Like, let me just do it like a master and give them the best. And there was a lot of succession out of that. I like that title, the last woman in Canada to be charged with witchcraft, because I think that what even Ryan said, every person's theories about witchcraft or spirituality is so different. I could be doing the biggest ritual right now with a big Star of David and, you know, something just magnificent with some silver candles and, you know, different salts and different herbs. And they could still say I'm pretending because to them, there's no significance in that. It's like, what is she doing? Mumbo jumbo? Like, there ain't things flying. There ain't things popping out, you know?
Well, it's definitely possible. So we're trying to understand the how.
Right.
I don't know. I have a pretty good book about that. It's called Magic is Real. That's why I wrote that in the chat.
Okay. All right. So Nina, this is the map that Dave Petrella has asked your opinion on. So without giving you any info on what this means, just by looking at it, what do you see? What do you feel? What does it mean?
Can I be honest with you? I have
hope
never seen this in my life.
Well, that's okay.
This is the first time for me. And it's looking at it, it looks to me, it looks beautiful. You know, very interesting. This could definitely open me up into some way. And I'm open to this and willing to learn. It looks in somewhat, you know, of the four corners, you have the four bides, you know, it also represents, or it could represent a cross or a crucifix of some sort. Direction as well, too. Certain symbols that I don't even understand. May I ask, what is this? Because it's very interesting.
What it is yet to be determined. Where it came from is an experience that I had in which this was visualized. So my experience required me to document this and make it into a digital image until I was able to relax. So the anxiety was gone.
Amen. Yeah.
And then I've been trying to interpret what it may or may not be by using the signs and tokens and symbols that are on it. And many other people have looked at it and have their own opinion on it. And with that, we've been learning that it means a whole bunch of things, and a lot of things can associate with it. It doesn't come with instructions, unfortunately, but this is how I identify by being connected to that ether, that ultra spectrum, that other place in which you may be drawing your information from. So, you know, I may not that I've tried, I have not. But I mean, in this moment, it seemed for me intrusive in the point that I intercepted something from somewhere, either internally or externally, supernatural or natural, whatever. And I had to transmute that and put it onto print in a way that I know how to do it. And I haven't gotten any information in the same way since. But by doing that, it's what TESA, the Experiential Support Association, so the organization that is responsible for this podcast and everything else, and these people that we're all a part of, there are a lot of things and symbols and signs that a lot of different unique people have gravitated towards, and it's always been positive. But yet it's still speculation, it's still interpretation. But the only thing we have in common is finding people that feel the need to be a part of this. Yet we don't know what it is, and that's why we call it a map, because it's a map to what.
There's a direction. There is definitely somewhere where you're going to have to go. It's a puzzle. It's a puzzle and a half. But
there's lots of ways to solve this puzzle.
Yeah, you could see the black and the white, the good, the bad, the, you know, there's black and white in everything. There's good and bad in everything. There's positive, there's negative. So you're going to go through the challenges and the trials and the judgment, you know, universally, and also by fellow humans with this kind of map and symbol. But at the same time, it's, you know, you see the fours here. The fours is very powerful, especially now with everything that's going on. You know, the fours represent the Jupiter. This is on the triangle upside down, right side up. That is interesting. Like, you know, I see two symbols here that, and this makes a lot of sense, Ryan, because what I seen in the afterlife was basically our rewards for all of our pain, our suffering, our persecution, the cross that we all had to carry by nation, by race, by genetics, by DNA. And, you know, I see two very powerful symbols here that could even represent the Holocaust and remembrance in that. And it's very Pacific, you know. The symbol with the circle here in intertwining new world, new dimension, which there is, and it makes a lot of sense. It really does, Ryan. And I support you 100% with this, because this is very powerful, and you do have a mission, and you're going to get this all figured out very soon.
A lot of people seem to think that, but I have no way, and I appreciate that, but I have no way of confirming that, and I don't want to believe that. But I appreciate that. But my safeguard for this is I believe it's meant for others, not meant for me. My task may have been to create it and then present it. I mean, and we don't even know if the source was divine. It could still be just my creativity. It could be just my mind. It just could be me being artistic that night, and then boom, it could absolutely mean nothing. But yet there have been connections with new people as we grow and gravitate and look at it from different perspectives without changing the color, without changing the shapes, without changing the mathematics that are visible here. There are correlations and synchronicities that exist in theories that I was not aware of until introduced to specific people. So that on its own,
well, you got the symbol with the yin and the yang in the background, but you also have here a symbol that does represent somewhat a crucifix, and you got the red and the white, which I believe not everybody, you know, and not everybody's a Christian, but the red and the white is the semblance of the blood of Christ. And then you have the black and the red connected here, which always represents the planets Mars and Pluto, yes, but the red and the black represents defeat and warfare. Defeat and war. That's what the black and red represents.
I could see that. I mean, but the challenge is there's many shapes, many symbols, many colors. There's direction, there's orientation, there's layers. So to interpret the right way to associate the facts, I need an instruction manual to verify whether or not we're on the right track. And so the only constant that I've been comfortable with is feeling. So
right.
If people
very important. People
see it, people come to it, people gravitate it, but don't know why, and then that's okay. I don't know why either, but there's something between you and I that we have in common. Whether it's physically or personally or whatever. Let's figure this out together. So like Dave Petrella, for an example, the reason why he brought that up is because he is an astrologer. He is, actively studying the stars, and he does birth charts, and he does a whole bunch of fancy, very intelligent things with the zodiac. But he's able to make some synchronicities and some associated facts from his experience that is able to explain the reason from his perspective. And I'm more, he's more into this, saying like it's this and it's that and it must mean this, and I'm just like, well, I can't mean that. But what does he say here? The gray in the center is the clay from Mesopotamia that everything is formed out of. Yeah, you say that is as a matter of fact. How do you know?
He's so matter of fact about it.
Yeah, you're so matter of fact, and you believe so much, man. And it's like, you got to remember, we don't know, but it could be. It's possible. But until
you're gonna get a lot of different interpretations.
Yeah, for sure. When I look at it, I see like time and space reality, like a black hole kind of wormhole sort of situation.
Absolutely.
Like energy just going like this. I forget the name of that structure.
Well, that's the thing. I mean it could be anything. I don't know. I mean, I could have just been stressed and just decided to be artistic, and boom, who knows? But
I appreciate your honesty and you being very real about this. But usually these kind of things don't happen for no reason. 90% of the time, these things don't happen just for no reason. We think it's a coincidence or it's in our mind or we're crazy, but a lot of times we get confirmation. There's reasons for it all.
So Dave mentioned toroidal.
Yeah, toroidal field. That's what I was referring to with the energy, the structure.
Mm-hmm. I see that in the cross as well. So let's wrap it up with this. So like if I were to say that this was a psychic ability and I was someone trying to understand, and if you could give advice to me or others who may have experiences similar to this, that are choosing not to believe it being as matter of fact.
We're all going to go through skepticism.
What advice would you offer?
We all go through it. There was things that I didn't even believe in. There was situations where I actually wanted to tell my customers specifically, go see a psychiatrist, and boy, oh boy, was I fooled, because they weren't lying. They were telling the truth. The most important key with embracing your gift or developing a psychic ability, or even just trying to elevate in your spiritual wheel, in your spiritual life cycle, is basically privacy is very important. Being in your own energies, soaking in your own energies, meditating in your own energies is very, very important. Cleansing, purification, which there's thousands of methods on cleansing and purification. Also spiritually trying to manifest some type of protection or enforce some kind of shield upon yourself, because when you do go into the mystic world or the paranormal world, you really don't know where you're going, and you don't know what you can get yourself into, and you don't know what you could bump into along the journey. And like I said, sometimes